Welcome to the Activity Call Live. Now, let's hear it for our special guest host, Mike Lewantowicz.
All right. Hey, Alliance Nation. Good to see you. Good to be seen. Hopefully everybody is jamming coming out of NatCon. We've seen huge app count stuff happen. We've seen recruiting stuff happen. And it's been fun seeing what's happening when people are putting in the work and seeing some things that we're celebrating. So real quick, I'm here to kind of build on what we talked about on Wednesday on the TWC. We talked about, hey, how do we create fast growth in depth? So we had one story from within our team. We've got another cool story here, a series of stories that are connected, talking about growth, driving depth, making things happen. And got three amazing women here who are all leading, doing things on the selling and the recruiting side, and really watching some things develop quickly. So excited to have them all here. Grateful to have a platform that Andy and Jane Albright have created that we are able to do this and have fun. I was chatting with Andy last night. I was already mourning there. He's out in Kenya with Adam and Beth Katz and Jane, and just some of the cool things they're seeing out there on this safari. But just fun that he's taking time to, hey, catch up, say, hey, share a few pieces of his dream and his vision that he's living. Just excited to be along for the ride. All right, here we go. We're going to jump in. First thing is, each of these ladies is an agency manager above. They are still active selling and leading from the front there. They're active in recruiting and developing agents. And I just thought I'd let them each kind of share the highlights of what they've done just on the selling side, just in this past week or week and a half since they've been back from NatCon. Let them tell you who they are, where they're from. But Sarah, I'll get started with you. Just quick, hey, who are you? What's going on, family, and what's last week on the selling side?
Yeah. Good morning, Alliance family. I'm sure I think of the activity call, and it's always like one of my favorite calls because it's like Friday morning. It's first thing. I drop the kids off. I have my cup of coffee, and I'm like, yes, like just starting the day off with, my family. So, yeah, thank you so much for this platform. Wow, what a blessing to see two of my, friends on with me today. So. Got out of NatCon. Let's see, it just feels like we were at NatCon, right? Everyone's stuck in Dallas. But yeah, came out of NatCon with lots of momentum. I guess we'll just call it the last 2 weeks, written $20,000 in premium with a total of about 25 applications. So let's go.
Woohoo! All right, that's awesome. Awesome. All right. Next up, Miss Sherry Teel. Let's unmute. There we go.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. And just to kind of go off of what Sarah said, it's very exciting to be on this call again with all my friends this morning. And so, so coming out of NatCon, just very fired up with the business, ready to help families, those kind of things. I think without having it in front of me the past week, I'm at about 5,000 AP helping families. So yeah, it's been awesome.
Way to go. Cool. Awesome. Glad you're here. And Meghan Alexander has a new qualified agency manager just crossing over that finish line here in January, having gotten started with us 4 months ago is amazing. But Meghan, real quick, where are you from and what's going on in your world?
Thank you, Mike. Same as Sarah and Sherry said, I'm just so honored to be on the call. From Kansas City, Missouri. It has just been full speed ahead. I've absolutely loved every bit of the 4 months I've been here so far. This last week, I believe I'm at about 6,000 AP. So yeah, just continuously keeping it consistent each week and always training to be better.
Hey, awesome. All right. Well, good. Just to kind of create some narrative. While Sarah has been here a little bit, she's led to Sherry Teel. And as Sherry's got rolling, she's helped find Meghan, she's helped find Lisa. And so there's been a lot that's happened quickly over the last 4 months. But I think each of these ladies has had their own story of growth, which we want to highlight. And I think they've each come up to speed pretty quickly in their own right. And so we may be going back, and we will be going back a little bit about, hey, what did they do right as they got started? What did they do right in helping somebody get started that wanted to move fast? And hoping that okay, as you're out there building, when you find somebody that has done something that's ready to do something, what are the things that help them get moving, whether they did themselves or that we did as a team to support them? And I'm hoping that can help you find and develop a team and work a few layers in depth to make something big happen like this leg is now doing. So getting started, Sarah, if you don't mind, kind of come back to where you were at when you first got rolling. How did we find you? And what were some of the kind of key things, that helped you get rolling? What did it look like? And I'll probably ask you some more questions as you share a little bit more.
Yeah. So the good news is that I got brought into this business by someone I already trusted. I'm sure most of y'all know it's one of my really good friends is the Vere Joseph, right? And of course her amazing husband, Jake. But yeah, she just opened the door. That's all she really did, right? But yeah, about 3 years ago, kind of just to give you a little bit high level background, I was a dental hygienist before this. So 11 years in the field as a dental hygienist, loved it, loved what I did, loved my career, but I just wanted more. My heart was desiring for something more, right? And I knew I was made for more, right? So yes, you're 100% right. Like I didn't have any other choice. I knew I wanted out of hygiene. And in order to do that, I had to get good at this really quickly, right? So, me and Vere, I just remember us sitting down and just really dissecting our goals. Okay, she knew what I made, right? She knew what I made in the dental office. So it's like, okay, what do we need to do to get you out of that? And some. Right? So it's like, okay, I had to get really good at this quickly because I had the little ones at home, right? And so I had to get really good at this, not only quickly, but in a really efficient manner, right? So, you're talking about like, okay, y'all got started pretty quickly. Like I didn't have a choice, right? So in order to leave my career, I was making decent income part-time. I was making $130,000 as a dental hygienist, right? Not bad, but I had to replace that really quickly. So it was just leaning in really closely and just trusting that my mentors, like really, truly from the depths of their heart had, had my interests and like they supported me in my goals. So.
Okay. So if I remember right, you had just had a little one. Like your third boy had just been born. He was how many weeks old when you first got rolling?
He was 3 months when I first started.
Okay, so 3 months. And how many days a week were you working in the dental hygiene?
2 days.
2 days. And so as you got started those first few months, how did you set your schedule and or maybe it wasn't the first week, but as you kind of create a rhythm, what did your schedule look like with us?
Yeah. So I was doing dental hygiene 2 days a week, and then I was doing insurance the other day, one day.
Okay.
Yeah.
1 day.
Field.
So now how did you, when did you book your appointment? So if you were doing 1 day in the field running appointments, how long was it taking you to be on the phone to set your schedule up?
Yeah, so I would book my appointments. I would basically, long story short, I would drive to the dental office early. I would sit in the parking lot an hour before my first patient and do an hour worth of dials. And then I would get my last patient before lunch done really good. I always booked the easiest patient that day. I'd go dial in my car for another hour. And then if I wasn't booked for my one run day, I stayed in my car. I didn't drive home to go book my schedule because that's just an extra 30 minutes of wasted time and later in the day. So I would stay in the car until my schedule was booked. So
it's interesting because they'll have some people that have full time. Just say, well, I got to drive home before I can dial, and then they're like, well, then they get home and I got to say hi to my wife. Well, my wife made dinner. Or, she wants me to bathe the kids. Well, yeah, you ain't going to dial. So something about like you having the thought and the discipline to do that. It's a big deal. It's better be more uncomfortable in your car, get it done, and not be distracted to pull it off. That's powerful. Okay. So fast forward a little bit. What did you think about recruiting and building when you were first getting started part-time selling? Was that on your radar, not on your radar?
Yeah, no, it wasn't. I mean, I was raising 3 kids under 4, right? Like none of them were in daycare. Like my husband, he has a very, very high intense career, right? So like, really, I wasn't looking to manage more people. I wasn't looking to build something. And that's okay, right? So for any of y'all that are listening, like it's okay, right? Thank God I had mentors that supported me in my season, right? Thank God I had mentors that saw me and listened to me, right? Because just because I said no then didn't mean that as the little one was less reliant on me for all the things, it was going to open a little bit more time. So no, I didn't come out from the gate wanting to recruit from the get-go. And it wasn't because I didn't see it. It just, the way I serve my team, like I know the amount of energy and investment it takes to build something. I see what Jake and Bray are doing. I see what, Joseph Dukes does with his team. I see what y'all are doing with your team. So it's like, I wanted to be that same example when I was bringing people in. But yeah, it didn't start off quick. And then I remember I just started making the money that needed to be made to leave hygiene. And I was like, okay, I am selfish for not sharing this with people. There's people out there that are silently praying for something. And there's people that are well-known bankers and hygienists and doctors and all the things that are Grubhubbing.
Yeah. I want to come back because I think this is important. Just as if we're out talking to somebody recruiting and somebody says no, a no isn't something to take personally as much as not right now. So some people that may not join our business or join your team now, and the key is to keep being nice. You can't be like, well, I'm going to burn your house down. No. And that's when somebody doesn't join at all. But similarly, when someone comes on and they're starting and their focus is part-time only. And yes, we do talk about building, establishing network, starting part-time. Hey, you don't have to do everything to start. And if somebody's still saying no, we're not mean to them. We don't cast them out. We don't like, you evil terrorist, to try to just, no, chill. So I think that as a leader, just because you want to move fast at this pace, hey, you've got to find the ones that want to move fast now. And so even though this is about fast growth, part of fast growth is being patient and nice to the ones that aren't in alignment yet with the part about moving fast and doing everything. And so it's having a little bit of wisdom to discern. And this is why we talk about, hey, find enough people to work with so you can find some people that want to run right now. And so I think Jake and Ray did a great job of being patient and serving Sarah where she was. And because Sarah came around, her mindset changed over time, and now we got some fast things happening. So sometimes we slow down, we be patient so we can move faster later. Doesn't mean we're not trying to talk, but just heads up on that. All right, so you started building, and as you did, talk a little bit about how you found Sherry, some things that you thought, hey, made Sherry a good match, and some things that Sherry did right or that you did right as she was getting started.
Yeah, so me and Sherry, we actually met in a dental networking group, which is amazing. So it's like one thing that always comes to my mind is like, find people that are like you. Like, why not, right? Like, that can be your superpower. So like, I always tell people, like, find people who are like you, because you're gonna build this business together, right? So me and Sherry connected in a dental networking group, and if I'm being 100% honest, and Sherry knows this, like, I invited her in, I opened the door. I didn't really know what she was gonna do. Like, we laugh about it now. I remember like looking at her pictures on Facebook, and I remember I was sitting in front of a final expense home, and if anyone knows anything about Sherry, she's she likes the nicer things. Her and Mike like to try all of this. So I remember just like prejudgment, right? So I hope this helps someone. I remember thinking, like, I was on the phone with Sherry. She was just about to take her final test. And I remember thinking, man, is she going to be able to sit in these homes? Like, just, that's the devil, right? Prejudgment. And I'm like, how dare I, right? Like, how dare I? Like, I'm a dental hygienist. Like, my husband has success, right? I like, how dare I? And then Sherry, she just went off with this thing. And, the one thing I want people to know is, like, Sherry put her time in somewhere else. Like Sherry was, and Sherry will tell her story here in a second, but it's like, she was a worker, right? So like workers find other workers, right? Lazy people, they find other lazy people, right? So like when you're building, like, don't spend too much energy with those lazy people. Like latch onto the workers. They're going to find other workers, right? But yeah, we connected through a dental network group, and the rest has been history. You know, her and Mike are some of our greatest friends, and Mike and Pablo are good friends, and always laughing it up, and just been amazing support over these last year. So
cool. All right. So Sherry, kind of talk to us. Where were you at? So you were working dental hygiene when Sarah connected with you. How did you feel about the dental hygiene world at that point? Why were you open? Why were you looking? What was going on?
Yeah, so I'm here in Central Missouri, Sherry Teel, and I've been a dental hygienist for over 20 years and love dental hygiene. Like, I think I always knew that was the field that I wanted to go into. I've worked on a lot of legislation for dental hygienists in the state of Missouri. I've done a lot of national representation for hygienists for Missouri. And so I was very dedicated, right, to my field and loved it. And then I had some changes in my life. My son went to college. My husband, who is a very successful civil engineer, he took a different job and was traveling. And I hope that we all go to see our dental hygienist, right, on a regular basis. But you know that you set those appointments up before you leave. And so even though I may have some PTO time, that time is not very flexible. So when he's like, hey, next week I'm flying to so-and-so, can you go with me? Yeah, probably not, right? And so I did. So I was able to start talking to Sarah. And it was kind of like what Sarah had talked about with Ray is, you know how much money I'm making, right? Like, I'm not interested in taking a pay cut. And I was 5 days a week in the dental office. So I was Monday through Friday in the dental office. And again, just had a kid that went to college, was not looking to take a pay cut. So I was very blessed in that aspect. I was very blessed that Sarah did not just be like, oh my goodness, this girl is, not going to do this or that kind of thing, and just kind of left it open the door, and then was able to coach me and show me how I could cut down those days in the dental office and how I could replace that income. I am forever grateful to Sarah and Pablo for taking so much time with me.
Okay. So made good money, pretty rigid schedule. Mike able to jump and leave and go place, invite you. You're not able to join him because, again, got to keep up with the schedule there. All right. So you saw that. So you got rolling. Did you scale back your dental time quickly, or how did you get started in the selling activity? Did you just say, I'm going to jump on faith and leave? I don't remember how you worked around your dentistry.
So basically, I reached out to Sarah and we put our heads together, and she's like, okay, so you can start running a couple of appointments, right, after clinic hours. And then we're going to book solid days on Saturdays. Are you working more right now than you're used to working? Absolutely. But it's a season that we're doing this. This is not the rest of your life. You're putting in more effort, more activity for a season. And so when you look at it like that, anybody can do that, right? And so I would. So those Saturdays were jam-packed. I was coming home. I remember I used to try to change clothes in between appointments from my clinic hours to when I had an appointment in the home. And I ran late, right? So I just went to my insurance appointment, my scrubs. It was fine, right? It worked. I wrote the app, so it was fine. but we just make things work. And one thing too, when you're really reaching out to your coach, when you're really being coachable, is that they have been through all of this. They, and there's just direction on this, on the best way to, how am I going to overcome this? Because it may seem like a huge bump in the road to us, but you reach out, get some coaching on it, and it's really just a pebble that you can overcome.
Okay. Sherry, why did you follow Sarah so quickly? Like, what was it you think, what helped you to decide, okay, I can follow her, I believe her, I can move, I can, take her direction?
It was a couple of things. Number one, she didn't say, okay, Sherry, you're going to go quit your job tomorrow and do this full time, right? Like, that would have been a serious red flag. And so she said, what we're going to do is we're going to keep this income that you have, and then we're going to slowly replace that, right? So you are going to run the appointments at night. You are going to work Saturdays, and then we're going to cut back a day. And that's exactly what we did. So then we cut back Fridays. And so then I didn't work Fridays in the dental office. And then we slowly cut out days. And it made sense that way. And Sarah was never asked me to do anything that she didn't do herself.
Ooh, okay, that's big. That's big. Yeah. Didn't ask you to do something she didn't do or wasn't willing to do herself. That's huge. Okay. Sarah, what are some of the things that you saw Sherry do that made you realize she was worth more of your time from a coaching perspective, or she was worth doubling down on or asking more out of her?
She was just, to be honest, she was just pleasant to work with. Does that make sense? So it's like, okay, like, I enjoy talking to Sherry, like, as a friend, right? So it's like, she was from day one, she's always been pleasant to work with, right? She's always expressed nothing but gratitude, right? And man, does gratitude go a long way, right? So it's, what are some things that Sherry, maybe she leaned in really closely? If I'm being very honest, I think at the beginning of her journey, I was taking about 30 to 40 calls a day, and she just was eager and hungry and all the things. It didn't matter because we're on a different time zone. Didn't matter. And Sherry gets up early. Sherry doesn't just go to her first appointment at 8:00. She's up preparing and getting her mind right and listening to audio and all the things before her first appointment and asking for coaching and all the things, right? So it's, what does that mean for me? Right? Leading from the front. It's being there. Right? It's being there when she's making those late night phone calls. But the one thing that I've seen from Sherry just from the beginning is she's been 100% like coachable, and she just doesn't ask questions, and don't take that the wrong way, right? It's not just like, oh, okay, like, you jump off a cliff, I'm going to jump off a cliff. We just have had this like amazing synergy enough where she's like, I trust what you're telling me. Like, I don't have to over explain myself with her. Right? It's just like, hey, Sherry, like, this, and this. And she's like, tracking. Awesome. Thumbs up. Like, I don't have to spend the time to over explain myself, which is great. The other thing is, like, that when I think about Sherry, like, from day one, right? If anyone has, like, for those of y'all listening or those that have the chat, I don't have the chat open, but has anyone seen Sherry Teel, like, at a conference? Like, she is fun. She's energetic. She is the epitome of an otter, right? Front row. It doesn't matter whose team you're on, cross, line down, line up. She's cheering for you as if you're on her team, right? So it's like, and she's been like that from day one. She wants all of us to win, right? So it's like, why wouldn't I want to spend time with someone like that? Right? So like, for those of y'all that are just new or coming in the business, or even veteran agents, like, are you worthy of it? Are you worthy of your coach's time? And I don't want that to come off the wrong way, but are you easy to talk to?
Yeah. Here's something I want to go back. You said that she would call you 30, 40 times a day when she was in the field because she's calling you before she present, before she left, in the middle. So A, Sherry was reaching out, and B, Sarah was taking the call. So I hope if you're sitting there listening, see that there's two sides to that. So it's A, Sherry was making the outbound calls. Sarah was taking it, or other leaders if Sarah couldn't be available. So I think that's key too. So if you're like, okay, well, I want somebody to follow me. Well, if you can get them to call you and then you're there, or your staff is, or the people on the team to help, that allows people to move more quickly. So I hope people heard that. It's just sometimes it can be easy to gloss over. All right, that's cool. Sherry, so you're selling. When did you when did you kind of tier out or start to back down your hours in the dental hygiene room?
I think it was about 4 months in is when NapCon of 24 was my first event. Okay. And again, it was having that trust in Sarah. I know she called me up and she said, you know how we do continuing education events for dental hygiene? She said, we do the same events here in our organization. And so these are the dates for NatCon. And this is where we'll be staying at. And I just said, okay. She's like, this is what we do. And I was like, okay. And so that was my very first event. And it was overwhelming and exciting. And I loved the culture. I have been to a lot of dental hygiene events before, and wow, the people were much nicer here than at the dental hygiene events, right? I love dental hygienists, but it was very overwhelming and it was very exciting. And it was, and I initially had got in it too, right? I'd wanted something to replace the income. So I had more flexibility with my husband, kind of going back to what I was initially interested in there. And so recruiting and building was not initially on my mind. That initially wasn't why I was here. And then, I started seeing the success of the team. And I started, and it's fun to help people. I like helping people. And that was another reason then I wanted to start building a team, because I wanted to help people have success the way that Sarah had helped me. So at 6 o'clock in the morning, my time, 5 o'clock in the morning, Sarah's time, when she's taking my call, I wanted to repay that to someone else.
That's big. Okay. So first event was NatCon of 24. You went and you worked in 24 and you qualified for the trip because you were there with us in Cabo this year. So you said, here, I'm going to earn the trip. I think that was certainly edifiable and setting the example, proving that the model works. When did you wake up, or was there anything that triggered you to kind of say, you know what, I need to take this recruiting and building part seriously? What was the trigger for you?
So I really liked Stage to Success of 24. I really liked all the different skits and things in Stage to Success of 24, and it just made sense. And so I started slowly then, right, talking to warm market, those kind of things. And then, slowly started then doing some more interviews, those kind of things. I know I utilized the tools from Tri-State. And then as I had gotten an assistant, started doing some license lists, did some different ads and things too. So just started kind of full spectrum.
Okay. How great at recruiting and finding agents were you when you first got started?
Very bad. Very bad. And so what I did, right, is because I was very bad at selling when I first started too, right? And so again, I just started listening to all the top people. If you were making more money than me, I was listening to you about selling. If you were recruiting more than me, which didn't take much, I was listening to you about recruiting. And then kind of putting all that together and finding my own niche. If you are doing better than me, I am listening. You have my full attention.
Okay. All right. So when did you feel like you started to get some traction in the recruiting side of things? When did you first maybe find a couple agents who were being productive?
So probably like the end of 24, beginning of 25. And I've had some, when I really started building.
Okay. And you know what? We see some people, they get traction really fast in their recruiting, and some people it's a skill and it takes a little bit longer. There's no right or wrong. We all have different paths. So I think it's again, important to acknowledge some people hit it with more gusto, have more of a network they're tapping into. Just, it's going to depend. But you've kept with it. So as we get moving along, talk to us a little bit about how did you find Meghan?
So I found Meghan off of a license list. And so off of a license list, it was an interview that was set up by my assistant. And what Sarah had touched on a while ago is that, she didn't have to teach me how to work. I knew how to work, right? I worked a lot in my life. And so she didn't have to teach me how to work. And that was one of the things is that I really liked about Meghan is I could tell by talking to her, she was a worker. She was very pleasant to talk to. It was definitely a longer interview than I ever have with anybody, but I was having so much fun talking to her. We were just chatting it up.
There you go. Okay. So you found her, and here's what I like. I want to come back. So you found her through a license list. You have an assistant that booked the interview for you. So if you're here, here's the reminder, what are the tools that people are using to recruit and build? The first tool we talk about with anybody is who do you already know in your warm market? And I love that Jake and Dre found Sarah through their warm market, having worked at the same dental hygiene. Then Sarah chose to network through a group of other dental hygienists. So it's a little bit off path, but doing some other networking, a version of maybe a digital 3-foot rule. So we've got the ability to use the 3-foot rule and meet people that you don't already know. So 3-foot rule is there. So warm market, 3-foot rule. And then Sherry found Meghan through a licensed list. All three work. And what I like is that Sherry started by leveraging a service, whether President's Club is available for you. They can book interviews with licensed agents into your calendar. There's a fee for that. If you don't want the hassle of, I don't want to hire staff, figure out the technology, they can do it for you. You started there, Sherry, and then you graduated to hiring your own staff. Brilliant. And taking the ownership of teaching her to provide that service so you have more control over it. So that's a huge thing. So if you're sitting here thinking, how do I get good at the recruiting and building? Think warm market, 3-foot rule, and then what other advertising or tools can I leverage? And then how can I grow staff to help me ramp that up? And using a blend. I hear some people say, I only want to do this. I said, really? Don't get myopic. Don't get all. Use them all. Teach them all. They all work a little bit. That's one thing I learned early on. Everything works a little bit. Nothing works 100%. So have multiple lines in the water. All right. So Sherry, come back. I wanted to hit that because that was a huge thing. Just the progression of what you did there is big. So talk about, as you start to meet Meghan, you liked her energy. What were the things that she did right, or that you think you did right as you were chatting with her initially?
So again, one of the things that I really liked about Meghan was she was a worker. Right? That we have a proven system here that works, but I can't teach you how to work. And so at the same time, that also became one of our challenges because she was a worker and she was working 6 days a week, doubles at her other job. So what I do, I called up Sarah. I called up my coach, right? And I said, hey, what are we going to do? I need help figuring out a schedule. Sarah helped me figure out a schedule that worked. So I knew that Sarah could help Meghan figure out a schedule that was going to work.
Okay. So often, when we're recruiting, I've heard Andy say this, as you're interviewing, you're looking for what somebody has done in the past. because generally speaking, past performance is a good indicator of future performance. It's not a guarantee. Okay. Just like past lack of performance is a good indicator of future lack of performance. So if you see the trend between Sarah and Sherry and Meghan, all three were workers. They had work ethic. Okay. Can't teach that, but that's why they've stuck out. Does that mean that everybody have hired or found has been that way? No. But I'm thinking that's certainly the trait amongst the three of them here is that that was the thing that each of them had brought to the table was a work ethic and willingness to do that. And so, as Sherry saw that, and that's why she got Meghan to Sarah. That's why Sarah was able to ask more of Sherry. She saw she was a worker. So Meghan, I'm going to kind of let you introduce yourself. So talk about, kind of the jobs you were working, and maybe even go back to, because you were found on an insurance licensed agent list. Talk to us about what you were doing for work and what your previous insurance experience was.
Yeah. Thank you, Sherry, too, by the way. You're so sweet. So yeah, prior to finding the Alliance and Sherry calling me and bringing me into this business, I had been at a restaurant. I was working doubles just about every single day, 6-7 days a week. But prior to falling back into the restaurant industry, again, I did try to sell insurance before as well at a different company. And I did not have the best experience with that. What that looked like for me was, you would get assigned a city and you would try and offer employee benefits to businesses. And the city that I was assigned was 3 hours away. And they said, well, your day should be not including drive time. So I would have to wake up at 5, drive to the city, work 8 to 5, and then drive back home and get home at 8. And I didn't really see much money from that position. So I worked at it, tried to make it work, just couldn't. So then I fell back into the restaurant industry just to get back on my feet. And when Sherry called me, at first I was very guarded. I was like, yeah, I tried it before, definitely not for me, probably not going to happen. And so, I thank you, Sherry, for not giving up on me too. That, she was just patient with me. She made sure to say, hey, I just finished up with this home. Here's what this looks like. She would drop me little nuggets like that, we call it. But yeah, she was just really patient with me. She got me connected with Sarah as well. And they both really, there was a day where Sarah said, Meghan, I really just need you to trust me right now. And I was like, really? Should I? And I was like, you know what? I have my license. What's the hurt of trying it for a day and just seeing what happens? And so I did that, and I saw that it really wasn't the same as my past experience. And from that very first day on, I was in. I said, okay, we're going to figure this out and make it work.
There we go. So you were working with a company that does work, I would say, like an Aflac or like a Colonial Life, that was having you go to businesses, cold calling businesses by phone and walking in unannounced. Is that correct?
Correct.
Pushing group benefits. I said pushing, but helping people with group benefits. And there's, whether it's Aflac, Colonial Life, and I think Globe Life has a division that does that. So if you're out there and you find these people through Life's List, just a quick note, there is no lead source. They hire a lot of young people. They have them sometimes work in the same city, sometimes going to multiple cities. They're having to cold call by phone, walk in unannounced, try to find a decision maker, a business owner, HR person, get an audience, and then come back. It's a multi-step process, and a lot of those people do not make it. I admire people that make it through that punishment and pain. It's just not a predictable method of success. And so there's a lot of Meghans out there that are in that world and hurting and suffering, not because they're bad, but because the system's terrible from the agent perspective. Carriers and products are fine. They do a good job. Nothing against the carriers, but the model for agent success terrible, in my humble and accurate opinion, based on the number of people we've rescued from that model. So Meghan's the only one we've helped make a transition. The problem is sometimes when we find them, they're so beat up emotionally or financially, and there may not be trust. So kudos to Sherry for seeing something and nurturing that spark that she saw, hoping that we could help Meghan have a turnaround and have a different perspective with a system. So way to go. All right. Sarah, what were some things as Sherry got you on the phone with Meghan? What caught your eye with Meghan, and what were the things that you saw that Meghan started to do right?
The one thing I liked about Meghan is she was a little feisty in a good way. I think stubborn is good. It means you have a little bit of a backbone, right? And not just, and she knows this, we're friends, we're all doing this business together. It's so hard to coach someone when they don't trust, right? Because it's just this wall is up. So it's hearing that story, you may be like, wow, what? What is she saying? Grabbing her from the face mask and just saying, trust me. It's just can you trust me just for a couple weeks? You say you're a worker, right? Just trust me and Sherry for a couple weeks. Okay. We're going to and if this doesn't work, you can blame us. But if you're putting in the work and we show you and we coach you and Sherry's involved and this works. Just trust us. Because having a wall up, being guarded, it's just like entering a new relationship. It's not fair to bring that wall to a new relationship. So it's the same thing in insurance. And that's hard, right? Because I think of this business and I think, wow, I'm lucky that this was the first thing I found. Right? Because I probably would have just went, if I call it what it is, if I was in Meghan's, I probably would have just gone back to dental hygiene. Right? So it's be patient, give these people grace. But if you this is what we were saying at the hot spot last night with Gina and Mir. It's if you truly believe in what we do matters, and you truly believe as someone's coach that you can help transform their life. Now you can't do the work, like Sherry said. I can't tell you to get up and dial, right? I can be present and lead from the front and show you that I'm doing it with you, but I can't do your dials for you. But if you truly believe in what we do matters, and if you truly believe we're going to take this thing massive, then you should lead with conviction. There's nothing wrong with being that direct with agents. So the one thing I know you asked, with Meghan, her startup journey, Sherry's right. She's a worker, right? She ain't afraid of work, right? I don't know how far you're going to go into it with the numbers, tracking numbers and all that, but that's something from the beginning that Meghan's always been visible every single dial day, every single run day, without a doubt, every hour, sharing her numbers. So it's
so on dial day, so you talk about sharing so you sat here, you're going to have to work. We say work times communication times leads gets results. So talk about your expectation of communication on dial day. Slow down and ask her or share with us what you were asking of her to do on that dial day.
Yeah, Sherry, why don't you kind of take over with that, with the numbers and the expectations that were set kind of early on?
So I, again, am very blessed to have Sarah who coached me right from day one with the system. Right. She didn't take shortcuts with me on the system. And so that way I knew how to properly then coach someone with the system. And so Meghan's first dial day, we set up a private Zoom. And so I was on a Zoom listening to her dial, and then I could put different things in the chat. Right. She could get off a call and be like, hey, quick question about this. Her second dial day, we did the same thing. And then, she went on and I'm like, if you got questions, that kind of, just let me know. Again, it was that 3 connects, no sets, you call me. Right. It's just making sure that she knows what the system is and it's following the system. Every hour on dial day, when Meghan is dialing, she sends me her dials, connects, and sets. And we continue to do that. That's how we know, like, are we having a slower dial day, slower connect day? Like, what is that? We have to know the numbers to help people. And it's taking the time, right? It's just taking the time. Sarah took so much time with me that I want to give that back.
Okay. So there's a lot that I just heard. And I want to hit this because some people are going to say, well, it sounds like you're trying to micromanage me. So let's be clear. Meghan came in with a limited window of time and wanted to move quickly. Sarah said, you need to trust us. And we knew with a limited window of time, there wasn't a lot of margin for error. And what we've learned is we don't need to micromanage you, but we need to teach you to micromanage yourself if you have a short window of time and a high level of expectations. Now, you've got to be nice about it. We've got to do it in the right way, okay, and with the right spirit. So it's how do you ask and how do we do that? And some people are going to be more compliant and less compliant. But here's why Meghan won, because Sherry asked a lot of her. Sarah said, you need to buy in. We see that you can work. And then Sherry was very meticulous about here's how it's going to look. And then she put herself on Zoom watching Meghan. So here's another thing. When an agent is first dialing, and I don't care if it's telesales or I don't care if it's, we're doing face-to-face and booking appointments, number one best option is, can you be in the same building as the person sitting next to them coaching them? If not, then can you get them on a Zoom or a Discord where you're watching them and listening and giving them real-time feedback? And then number three is, if you can't, okay, at least make sure that they're checking in once an hour. It's scheduled every 2 hours by text or picking up the phone and having that engagement. So what you see here is Sherry's poured the time into someone that she believed in, who had been responding, and then was there and asking for the feedback and teaching. All right, Meghan, real quick, let's go ahead and hit numbers. Share with us kind of your personal production. I think your first really full month with us was when, or like I say, full month, you still get your job, but when you really broke out on the selling side?
Yeah, that would have been October, because my first app was written mid-September. So really my first full month would have been October. And I believe I started off, I don't have it right in front of me, but I believe I started off around, it was like 7,000 or 8,000 AP. I was writing 2 days a week. Well, really, I started off, I think it was the first 3 or 4 weeks that I was dialing on Mondays, and then I was only running Tuesday appointments, because all the other days of my week I was doing doubles at the restaurant. So, I was, again, slowly adding in more days doing this. And so then I went into doing it 2 days a week. So dialing Monday, running appointments Tuesday and Wednesday. And when I really started to do that, that's when I started getting into the 5 digits. I started hitting 12,000 and then 14,000 for my own personal production. And it has gone on a positive incline since then.
I'm going to share the ARC's numbers with everybody. I'm going to make it very specific and real. So the ARC says that in October, you issued 13 apps for $10,100 in premium, well, part-time. In November, 18 apps for $9,616. In December, 29 apps for $14,094. And in January, 31 apps for $14,086. Here's what I love. I love the app count. So you can say, oh, she wrote one big app. No, she didn't. She didn't get lucky. She worked. So that's the personal production. All right. Now let's hit the group volume. So in October, it looks like it was solely you writing business, because there was one unique writer and 10,000 in premium. Found somebody who joined you in November, had 15,200. December, 29,762. In January, 27,800. So led from the front. We'll talk about the recruiting in a second, but I just want people to hear the credibility of why we've got you here. So 4 months of full-time from zero to agency manager. That's what's possible when you find the right person, the right leadership, applying the right resources, and this is what we can do. So kudos to the three of you, and certainly Lisa we'll talk about in a second, who's part of what's been happening here. But just, again, good job of seeing an opportunity, seizing it, getting coaching, and working together. So, Meghan, how did it feel as they were asking you not just to trust it, but then Sherry saying, here, we need you to report this. I'm going to watch you on Zoom. Did you feel good about that? Did you feel like, oh, I don't want to do that much? How did you feel as they were asking that?
I actually really appreciated it. I knew that if this was going to work, I needed to learn all the pro tips as fast as I could. So when she said, okay, here's what we're going to do for Dial Day, it's going to be a Zoom, I'm going to watch you and coach you. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. One-on-one coaching. So you're telling me the second I mess up, I get to learn from that immediately and be able to progress faster? I'm like, sign me up, let's go. So I was like, hey, between every call, did that sound good? Did I sound natural? You know, what could I have done differently with X, Y, or Z, you know, whatever was going on with the call. But I really appreciated that. I didn't really view it as micromanaging. I viewed it as, well, she only wants me to succeed and do better. So this is how it is when we get started. So
there you go. Winners and competitors typically embrace feedback when handled right. You know, they seek it, they appreciate it, and they take it and run with it. So good job. All right. Now, all the while this is going on, are you still working your job at the restaurant?
Yes, I still am. Yes.
Okay. So just to be clear, she went agency manager while working a job. So says, I don't have the time. I can't recruit and build. I have a job. It's like, okay, I'm sorry. Go back and watch this, you know. Okay, so now when did it occur to you that you should start the recruiting and building side of things, Meghan?
Really, it was in that hotspot by Gina Hawks in St. Louis. When was that, Sherry? I think it was November, I want to say. That was the first hotspot that I brought Lisa to, because I knew I was going, and I was like, well, if I'm going to go, I might as well have a car buddy. We're going to drive 3 hours, and might as well have someone to talk to. So during that hotspot, she really broke down what happens when you recruit and how it can change your income, your business, everything can go from 0 to 100 really fast when you start recruiting. So that's really what turned on the light for me. And I said, okay, so Lisa is going to be, of course, my first agent, but from there, I'm going to really focus on growing and building and making sure to always stay consistent with talking to new recruits.
Okay. Now, you said you saw Gina Hawks in St. Louis, and you live where?
I'm in technically Lee Summit, Missouri, so that was about a 3-hour drive from me.
Kansas City. So, but they have hot spots in Kansas City. How come you didn't just wait for the next one several weeks or a month later in Kansas City? Why did you drive all the way to St. Louis?
Well, the short answer is because I can. Because I can, and I had the time. And why wouldn't I want Lisa to see the alliance, right? Sooner than later, because now that's opening the door for her. So that would be actually, in my opinion, doing a disservice to her if I waited to bring her.
All right. So powerhouse. Thank you, Gina Hawks. Thank you, Gina Hawks, for traveling and doing what you do. She's probably on a plane flying back, because I know she was in Albuquerque yesterday. So thank you to Gina. We're so blessed to have a Gina. So, man, if y'all haven't sent Gina a thank you text, I'm like, thank you. Okay. So Meghan, talk about Lisa. How did you know Lisa? How did you find her? And talk about her kind of quick growth.
Yeah, so Lisa, I had worked with at that prior insurance company that I didn't have the best experience in. I had been there for 4 months, and she came in under me to be on my team. And she was only there for 2 weeks. And she saw really fast that this was not going to be for her. But when we were together all the time, I was training her every step of the way. And like I said, we were going out to Salina, Kansas. If anyone knows, it's also 3 hours from us. So we had a lot of time in the car to really build our relationship, really get to know each other, and we became friends. And so when I found the Alliance, I naturally was like, oh, Lisa, we just were in the wrong environment. We just need to come on over here. So I told her about it. I was like, you would be amazing at this. So that's kind of how, she kind of saw everything. She went to the hotspot. She was like, yeah. And she had been working full time in a bank at the time. And we got her set up. She was going to be doing it part time. And then her situation changed. And then she said, well, looks like we're jumping in both feet. So then she jumped in full time.
Very good. All right. So we've got her selling. Now, Sherry, what were some of the things, or Sarah, what were some of the things you saw Meghan did well in working with Lisa?
And it completely goes back to following the system, though, right? Is that Sarah taught me the correct system so that I was able to teach Meghan, and then she was able to work with Lisa. And then obviously Meghan was new, but she had the support of myself and Sarah and Jake and Bray and all, and you and Noelle, and you have the entire support of the team as well. But she was able to break things down with Lisa, just like I broke things down with her and was there to support her on those things. And so I kind of want to touch base on that, on her going to St. Louis for a hotspot. And I just invited him to the hotspot. I'm like, hey, I'm going to St. Louis for this hotspot. Judah's going to be there. Like, you got to come. You got to bring somebody, and I'll see you there, right? And so we didn't talk about that it was a 3-hour drive, but and I know not everybody knows this, and I know Sarah remembers this, but I'm not sure, Mike, if you do. My first hotspot, I drove to Louisville, Kentucky. So, right. So I know she had to drive 3 hours to a hotspot, but I drove to a whole different state. And so it's just how bad you want it, right? It's how bad that you're willing to do it.
So I think a leader can't be afraid of the cost for someone to invest in themselves. That's why we talk about, hey, this is why you, as you're here, need to be at stage 2 success. Yes, there's a cost. And I think, as leaders, look, we know that people need to be investing in themselves. And sometimes we get caught up, well, they need to have enough money for leads. Just like, hey, AIT is coming up. That's $499 for 4.5 days of intense training. And there's going to be somebody that's saying, well, I don't know if I should tell my agent about it because blah, blah, blah. Or there's a person that says, oh my gosh, look at how much growth my agent could have by being there. So as a leader, are you sheltering your people from growing and investing in themselves? Are you trying to embrace and encourage them to invest themselves? And yes, there's a little bit of risk. There's risk in everything that we're doing, right? And so I love the fact that whether it's getting to a hot spot or getting to a major conference or getting to AIT or somebody's going to a cabinet event, hey, are we feeling good about leading people to invest in themselves and building themselves up in the business? So, hey, way to go. I appreciate it. That's where relationships are built in that time. So, way to go. Sarah, other things that you've seen with Meghan and Lisa, things that they're doing right in this moving fast here.
Meghan just asking a lot of really good questions. That's the main thing, right? And I think just even selling insurance, it's all a question game, right? And you look around, the people that are winning are the ones that are asking good questions, right? And, with Meghan, I don't have any shadow of a doubt that her business is going to explode the next 90 days at the rate that she's recruiting. And y'all, you asked about that restaurant job. I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a secret. She's keeping that restaurant job because she's recruiting at the restaurant. So she's
good. Hey.
Nothing wrong with that. But yeah, no, she's just leaning in. She's not afraid. I think the one thing too is like the trend here is we are doing this business together. right? It's like, we are doing this business. Okay, who else can you invite into this business that wants to go to Portugal with us next year? Right? And just making it fun. I think that's the simplest way to bring people into this opportunity, is just, who do you want to do life with? So Meghan's leading in close. Sherry, of course, she's on a tier. She's leading from the front at a high level with her selling numbers. And she's just tell, show, watch, go. Tell, show, watch, go. So I'm proud of you both.
All right. Hey, ladies, y'all are beautiful. You've done a beautiful job of working. Second great example, moving quickly. I'm hoping this is helping one more agent, one more leader, find one more good one, help them come up to speed. Thank you for your time today, but thank you for living the example. So we've got a story to tell. Appreciate you guys. We need to see more. Take care, guys. Bye.